And so you guys can probably listen to this later. So I thought I'd just put together these PowerPoints. There's only a few. It shouldn't take too long. So after I'll present with the PowerPoints, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then open up for questions. So if you're not sure of anything, then you can, you know, talk to me about it. But, you know, these mastermind Sunday night trainings are primarily really for you to sharpen your axe, and so you can get a little bit better at it in regards to, you know, what you're doing in your business, because it's really, really important that you know how to speak to people, how to build that rapport. Talking about the machine, so to speak, with the Kangen, that's something you can do on your own. Like, you can really spend time on YouTube and you can listen to the presentations. There's so much information out there that you can actually just go and listen to how the product actually works. There's lots of brochures. You can have a look at the Peggy Parker information. You can buy the Dr. Shinya books. You can buy, you know, the Dr. Robert Wright. That is all self-education that you probably should be doing on a daily basis, is listening to something. So on the way to work or what you're doing, just absorb yourself into it. So then you become very confident. So when people actually ask you a question, it'll just come out of your mouth because you'll know it because you've watched so many YouTubes on it. So it's, first of all, it's really important that you really get your head around the product and what it actually can do. Alrighty. So yeah, the cost of not getting the deal done is hugely costly. You will not make any money. You will not change people's lives, and you'll be like this hamster on a hamster wheel constantly. So the number one thing, and I talk about mindset a lot, it's very, very important, right? Mindset is to get your mind right. And what we tend to do is we tend to judge people and we buy into their stories. So there's many times, and I'm sure you've had this experience, that, you know, you've been speaking to someone and they've said to you that they can't afford it, and they have to do e-payment or whatever excuse they're actually using. So actually they're not excuses, they're really complaints about why they shouldn't be buying. But to change your mindset on that is really important. So you've got to actually look for the evidence that they've actually bought things before. So, you know, the thing is that when you have a look at someone, you've got to see whether they have actually bought something before, and we've all bought something before. So when we buy into these stories of when people say, oh, I can't afford it, this is too much for me. Well, I always bypass that whole thing and I change my mindset. I don't buy into that, because when if I said to any one of you, you need to raise $10,000 by the end of the week, or something bad is going to happen to your child or whatever, or you're going to die in a week. If you don't get 10 grand in a week, that's what's going to happen. I can guarantee you that that money would be raised in the same day, because money is there. And in many of the cases, people will use the money excuse because of their fear, and they don't feel confident within themselves. So if people don't believe in themselves and they're not confident within themselves, they're not going to buy from you. But the thing is that every single person, there is evidence that they're a buyer. So when I'm speaking to them, I know they're going to buy, and they do have the possibility of buying. So you look for evidence. Okay, so, you know, they've got a car, they've bought a car, so they're a buyer. They've bought a house, so that there's evidence that they're actually a buyer. So if they're going to buy other things, then there is no reason why they can't buy a Kangen machine. So every time when someone says, oh, I can't, I just don't have the money, I say, oh, you know, sure. No, I agree with you. If you don't have the money, you know, I always agree with people, but I'm not going to accept that story. It's just a complaint, because if they saw the value in it and what it can actually do, then they will buy. So what I also find out is, do they have the ability to actually buy something? And majority of people, they actually do. And I treat every single person like a buyer because they've already bought before. So in my mind, right, if they have a really nice car and they've got a house and they've got a successful business, they have the ability to buy. And so I just treat them like a buyer, that maybe they won't do it today, but they will in the next month or two. But the thing is that the negative talk is what we buy into. So when they say, oh, I don't have enough money, I've got to actually swap this money from that account and then I still in my mind think that they're going to buy, because I just go, okay, yeah, they're buyers. They bought a house, they've got a car, they're going to buy one. They can see the value in this. So it's about stopping the negative thoughts that run through our mind in regards to, whether they're going to buy it or not. So you don't even entertain the idea that they are not going to buy, because we're looking at close to 7 billion people on the planet, and every single person has actually bought something. So everybody is a buyer. And the example of one thing was, there's someone that I knew that said they didn't have any money, but then they recently went out and bought, $6,000-7,000 worth of cookware. So they had the money, right? So the thing is that I never buy into whether they do have the money or not. If they're not going to buy now and they see the value, it's actually going to happen. So when they say all these things to you, I can't afford it, this is not going to be right for me, I really can't get the money, say, right, always agree with people. Because if you don't agree with people and you start trying to justify how much they need it, it can actually turn into a negativity, and then they're not going to buy from you. It just won't happen. So always know that you can come to an agreement with someone. There's always going to be a solution to every single person that you see. So that's when you negotiate, well, how can we make this a reality? You've invested a lot of time collecting this water. How can we make this possible for you? Do you know that we have this e-payment? And then you'll go through the e-payment. To buy the JR2, it's going to cost you around $800 up front, and then you pay $129 per month. There's also finance, and you're paying, close to XYZ a month, depending on the payment plan. And, the e-payment is in most countries. America, there's an e-payment. Australia, there's an e-payment where you can actually pay off over a period of time. So if someone just sees the actual figure and they say, well, I can't afford it, we say, yeah, look, I understand it, that you can't afford it. Let's look at a solution. Because you know what? Like, I know that you would really like one of these machines in your home. You've been coming to collect the water. I understand that. How can we make this a reality for you? How can we get this started? What do we need to do? I'm really confident we can work this out together. Let's just make it out together. Let's work it out. Let's sit down, and you sit down. You always negotiate sitting down when you're talking about business, and you might need to get like an A4 piece of paper and write down all the different ways of payment. So, once you get the agreement, so, okay, well, let's see if we can work this out. Let's see whether we can make this happen for you. And so you say, look, come over here and let's sit down. So we have 3 ways of payment here. Number 1 is that you can pay it outright, and you can pay transfer. You can do a credit card. We can do it that way. Okay. Number 2 is that you can pay it off as you go. How does that sound? Great. You know what? We don't have to do a credit check on you. Like, it's what we call, it's an e-payment, because the company, they're really invested in your health, and they want as many of these machines in people's homes as possible. And I know that you want one, don't you? Yeah, right. So you're agreeing and you're going through the process. So you'll go through the whole e-payment. You might bring out the form and explain, what we can have in Australia, what's happening in the American market. You might want to hop onto the computer and see how much they are in the America market or wherever they might be at that particular point. But for the Australian and the New Zealand, it's all Australian dollars. So you can actually go through and talk about that, the e-payment, and make sure you have all these forms on hand so you can refer to them, because you don't want to mess up the amount and write it down. And then of course, the third way is finance. So we actually have a really good deal with Sky Finance. And if you pay it off within a 12-month period, again, you take out the form and you write it down exactly how much it's going to be. And then you say, you know, that's a third option, but there are parameters that you need to know around that. And the parameters are that you need to be making more than 40K per year. You need to be in your job for at least 6 months. You may have to show bank statements or, you know, your pay slips, depending on Sky and what they need. And you can bring up the app and you can actually apply online immediately. And I've actually done that before with someone, and she was pretty tech savvy and she just did it herself. And within like 10 or 15 minutes, she was approved by Sky Finance and she bought a machine. So that's what you can actually do. So the whole process of always know that you can come to some sort of agreement at that particular time when they're ready to buy. And you need to guide people when they're ready to buy. But always know that, right? You just know that this is going to happen because they're interested. Even if they say, oh, I need to go home and I need to ask my wife. And you say, oh, okay, but your wife knows that you're here, right? Like, she knows you're here with me talking about it, right? Yeah, well, that means that she agrees with it or she wouldn't allow you to come. Is that true? Yeah, that's true. So that might be something that you might want to say. If it's a phone, if it's on the phone, well, then you might say, well, listen, you know, I think it would be, because if it's the excuse of the wife, you say, okay, well, I've got a really good solution for you, Tony. Tony, the new married man, Tony. So I've got a really good solution for you, Tony. I know that we've spent quite a while on the telephone, and I know that you've been drinking the water for quite some time. And you know, your wife has been drinking the water too with good results. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Do you think that it would be a good idea that maybe we could have a 3-way call? So I call you and you put your wife and yourself on and we talk about it together, because I know that there's a lot of information that I've said today that she may miss out on. So maybe that would be a good thing. And then you say something like, how long have you been married for, Tony? And Tony is going to say, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. So I'm going to say, okay, well, Tony, you know your wife more than me. I'm not here to convince you of anything. You probably have got a better job at convincing her to buy one of these machines than me, because you've known her for 20 years. I haven't. And I'm actually not going to get on the call to convince her of anything. I don't really want to do that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to ask her questions and see how she feels about it. And if there's anything that I can help her in regards to her health and drinking the water. How does that sound? So then Tony's going to say, yeah, that sounds really good. So then I'm going to give him two times to make a telephone call. And I may even do the third option of, what about if your wife and yourself come around to my house and I can show you, we can both go through it together. Or I'm having a water presentation at my house on Saturday at 2:00. Would you like to, both of you, come over? So there's different solutions. So the whole point is always know that there's an agreement, there's a solution, there's always some way of being confident that all of this, we can work it out, that we can work out anything. Let's sit down and work it out. It could even be that, you know, they're not very good savers, like they don't save money. So, you know, if you're a trustworthy person, it might be that, you know, okay, well, how much money can you save per week? Well, I can save $100 a week. Say, great. Well, in 9 weeks time, we should be able to put down a deposit for, you know, the JR2 that we've been talking about. or in 10 weeks time, we'll be able to, you know, and by the time when you're talking about that, they go, yeah, well, you know, I've got this tax check coming in, or I've got this commission coming in. What about if yeah, maybe I can do that. I'm getting a bonus coming in. Recently I heard someone say that to me. They said, oh, I'm getting a bonus soon, and that probably will cover the machine. And I say, great. Oh my gosh, I knew we'd be able to work it out. This is great. I love it. Okay. And so what you're doing is you're always trying, you just got to know that it will all work out. And that's the belief that you've got to have within yourself, that everything is actually going to work out. You do the work and everything's going to work out, and stay really positive and believe that this is all going to work. So it's really important to maintain the positive outlook with everything that you actually do. Okay, so you can't always control what's happening to you, but you can control how you respond to it. And this is really, really important, because this actually goes, you know, for all of our lives. You know, we sometimes can't control other people and things happening around us in our environment. And, you know, sometimes we might question about the universe and manifesting. We might question, you know, how come this is all happening to me? Like, how come this has happened? Like, my life is going really well, and then boom, I get sent this problem or that problem. Well, the thing is that you're going to be given something that you actually need. It's a learning. It's part of your journey. It might not be what you want, but you have attracted it somehow, and there's some sort of learning. So unless you have a positive outlook and a positive attitude, then it's going to be extremely difficult. You are going to have so many setbacks in your life. It's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be one thing after another after another. And so once you change your attitude, and your attitude is really made up, it's a compositum of how you're feeling and your thoughts and the results that you actually get. So it's important to actually know that. So when you're speaking or you're with people that are really negative, if they're actually your friends, you might want to change your friend base. If it's your family, you might want to like have less time, because I'm telling you, the people that you hang out with are going to be how you're going to be. The top 5 people that you hang out with in your daily life, you're going to adopt their behavior. You're going to mimic their behavior, because they're going to rub off on you. If you go out on a Saturday afternoon and you drink with your drink buddies or whatever, or you have lots of red wine or whatever it might be, and you're sitting around in a group and they're all really, really negative, guess what? After a while, it's going to be like a magnet to the negativity. So it's extremely important that you watch who you hang out with, you watch what you listen to. And the thing is, right, is that people spend millions, if not billions, on their health, right? Really, they do, billions. But we don't, you know, for viruses that are happening out there, but we don't actually spend much at all in regards to stopping the viruses that get into our mindset. And I'm talking about radio shows, I'm talking about television, I'm talking about YouTube, I'm talking about people that we hang out with. We don't spend any time at all or money on deleting and removing and pushing through all this negativity which we are being bombarded with on a daily basis. So maintaining this positive outlook all the time is going to actually rub off on people, and it just will. So when you're speaking to people in regards to the Kangen, always love their ideas. If you're going to try and justify yourself and make yourself right or disagree with anything that they say in regards to the Kangen machine, you're going to be putting yourself backwards. You never, ever, and I know that I spoke to one of Ella's people, actually, a guy, And I remember getting off the phone, and I really I had to control myself in that particular conversation, because you know how they say the customer is always right? Well, that's actually not correct. So I know that there was many things that he was discussing with me that were just so out of control wrong that I could have had a huge debate. But what I did was I just showed my care towards him and his state that he was in. I never worried about his beliefs that were actually quite out of control beliefs, but I stayed in this positive mindset, and I didn't want to compete. I didn't want to show him how I knew more about this, this subject. I didn't. I just agreed with everything that he said. I was very caring towards him. And in fact, he did purchase the machine from Ella. So it's extremely important that sometimes when people don't, disagree with you, or they tell you, oh, but reverse osmosis is like the best thing, right? I remember that I felt that way. I was introduced to Kangen back 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I was introduced to it from Japan. But it wasn't the right time for me. I wasn't open to listening to any of the communication. I was so set in my reverse osmosis was really the best way. But you see, now I have more information. Now I know that that is not the best way. It was the best way for me at the time because I wasn't open to anything else. So when I found out about this and how the reverse osmosis, I have no doubt the reverse osmosis has been good for me before the Kangen. It removed the fluoride, which was really one of the things that I wanted to remove. It removed the chlorine, that was another thing I wanted to remove. But I didn't have any perception that when they re-inoculated the water to increase the alkalinity with the reverse osmosis, that they were adding chemicals to my water to make it a high pH that I couldn't actually assimilate in my body. So it wasn't actually, it was better than tap water and bottled water, but it wasn't the best water on the planet. It certainly wasn't the ionized hydrogenated water that we have now with the Kangen water. So it was the right time for me back in 2017 to actually learn about this. And actually, it was 2018. I stand corrected, 2018. And so I was really open with it then for me to learn more about it. And now I understand the difference between the other waters and what I have. Now, the thing is that when someone was talking to me about the Kangen water and I suppose educating me about it, I needed to take a step back. I needed to be open. And that particular person didn't fight with me or debate with me with my reverse osmosis or anything. They just, and this is what I say to people now when people say, oh, I've got a reverse osmosis, to say, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I had. I thought that was the best water that I could have. And then of course I'm building a rapport during this phase because I'm not coming straight out saying, oh, your water is not very good, because I wouldn't have appreciated that back when I was learning about it as well. And if you're always competing and debating and showing people that they're wrong, they're not going to buy from you, because people only buy from you when they like you and they trust you and you respect them and you care about their ideas, because most people don't know. And when you don't know, then ignorance is not a sin. Ignorance is not a sin. If people don't know, they don't know. So always love their ideas. It's, always be positive. Say, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I agree with you. I know that. And just keep going. Like every single complaint, you go, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was there too. I know. And when you start building that rapport and you're understanding where they're from, I'm telling you 100%, they will like you, they'll respect you, and they know that you have their best interest at heart. Yeah. So smiling is always really, really good, even when you're losing. And that's really hard when you're actually like losing a game or actually losing a deal with Kangen and you just can't get it over the line. But, you know, when you're smiling, it melts resistance. It absolutely does. Just smiling, smiling, smiling all the time. And most successful people smile. They smile. Even when they're up against diversity and things are not working out, they're always smiling. And that's really, really important that you understand that. And you can't be sad and you can't be upset when you're actually smiling. If you just smile, it's impossible to feel even like you can feel depressed, right? And your face is going to be, oh, I'm depressed. Yeah. But try and be depressed smiling. Go try it. It's really entertaining. You can't be. You can't. So it doesn't matter what if people come up with all these complaints and they're really against everything. Just go, yeah, I understand how you feel, and just keep smiling, because you'll notice that most successful people have this positive outlook and they're smiling, and life is good. Life is good. So always treat the buyer like they can. So as much as you get all the complaints, you can't afford it, it's too much, I need to ask my wife, you know, bypass that and see them as a buyer. Okay? So agree with them. I know it's a lot of money. I know it's a lot of money. I agree with you. Yeah, look at those people, you know, that you don't see what we see in this, and how's it going to help you and your family? It's going to be amazing. I know you can actually see it. Other people can't see it, but you can see it. Right? So congratulations for being really open. I really appreciate the time. I mean, say that all the time. It's really good. I really appreciate the time that you've spent with me after a water presentation, after a telephone call. Always say, look, I really appreciate you spending 20 minutes with me. I appreciate you, you know, coming over and listening to me. If I didn't think this was really of worth, if I really didn't believe that this was going to be good for you, I wouldn't be doing this. I really wouldn't be. I have other things that I need to do, you know, so let's find out how we can make this a reality. Let's have a seat over here and let's go through it. So what I'm doing is I'm agreeing. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Yeah, I know that. I agree with B. You know what? But there's a lot of people out there that don't even come and have a look at it. They're not open like you and I. And you've been drinking the water for quite some time. I know that it's doing so much good for you. I understand that. You know, look, I just want to say congratulations on being open. I really appreciate the time that you've spent with me today. How can we make this, you know, how can we get one in your kitchen? How can we make this happen for you? How can we make this a reality? What do we need to do? What do we need to work out? So what happens is you then go, you know, you go and you sit down on a table and you start talking about the three ways of actually doing it. That's it. How can we make it happen for you? And your whole mental processing is how we can make this happen for you. Yes, but blah, 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 complaint. How can we make this happen for you? How can we make this a reality? Yeah, but this ... Yeah, how can we make a reality? Are you sort of getting the point? And straight away in your mind, you're thinking they're going to buy it. You do not entertain any other thought. Once you start buying into all of their complaints and the things that they can't and they can do it, I don't even listen to it. I go straight in and go, look, I appreciate everything that you're saying. I understand it. I've been there. I understand how you feel. I felt exactly the same way about reverse osmosis, but you know, I found that there was a better way, and I just want to appreciate the time. Like, thank you so much for listening to me for the past 1 minute or 10 minutes or 20 minutes. I really appreciate it. How can we make this happen? How can we make it happen? And if you keep practicing and practicing and practicing that, it's pretty remarkable. So, you know, good decisions are made. And a lot of people say, they sometimes say no, they don't want to do it because of their stories. and how they've made bad decisions in the past. So what we want to do also is we want to bring in that you actually have made good decisions in your life, right? And this is just another good decision. And you can actually ask them, you can say, you know, something like, when they say, oh, maybe, this is a really, this is a lot of money. This is a really big decision. You go, I know, I understand it. But you know what? You've made lots of good decisions in your life. And this is actually one of them. You know, you said to me that you've been drinking the water and you're having a lot of energy. And you said to me that, your blood pressure is better. You're feeling so much more energized in the morning, and your wife is drinking it and she's feeling really good too. I know, I just know that this is actually really good, another good decision that you're going to make in your life. So what you're doing is you're creating a buyer. You're absolutely creating a buyer. You're creating a buyer already in your mind, and that's what you're visualizing. And then you're listening to what they're saying. They are already a buyer. They have already bought. There's 7 billion people on the planet. They are all, every single person has bought something. So whether it be a car or they've bought into something. They've bought into a marriage. They've bought into a car. They've bought into a business system. You've actually been sold so many times that it's probably ridiculous. People will sell you just about anything. So you need to believe every single time that this is going to be, they are going to buy a Kangen machine every single time. If not today, this week, eventually they will. Why? Because you're caring for them over a period of time. You're sending them information. You'll be showing up. You're being consistent. You're not bouncing from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. You're consistent. You're consistent with your social media. And that's extremely important for your followers. So you believe every single time that they're going to be a buyer eventually. So if they lack confidence in you and they lack confidence with themselves, whether they can actually pull this off and actually purchase one and is it going to be okay, they will not buy from you. If people are not confident, they're not going to buy. And this is why posture is really, really important. But it goes from your attitude, how you explain it, how you're on their side, how you want to improve their life. All of that will add up to the sale. And you have to believe in the buyer. You need to believe that what they're doing and the decision that they're making is going to be the best thing ever. And I know personally, I've seen so many testimonials that I know 100% I am all in. I'm 100% because I know that every single person that's on this planet will benefit, even animals, even insects, everything. Because water is the vitality of life. It is live water. And that there will give you enough hydrogen to make sure your body is in good homeostasis so that there is no disease that's going to live in your body. So I know 100% I believe in it, and I believe in every single person is going to get a benefit from this machine. And it's that knowing, and when you get that confidence, look out, because you're going to have so many sales. It's going to be ridiculous. You're going to be getting so many sales. You're going to go, okay, when am I going to find the time to fill out those papers? That's just what's going to happen. So care so much to refuse not to close, because you know what we have. Purpose is way higher than motivation, than money. So when you're actually speaking to people, every single job that people do is important, whether it be charity workers, whether they're cleaners, whether they're gardeners. You have to know what their purpose is. So the other day when I was speaking to someone who bought a machine, we talked a little bit about the money in regards to her being a distributor and actually making money, because every single person that buys a machine gets a free ID. You've actually bought a business. How crazy is that? In every other business, you just got to keep paying out money for product. So this is huge. And so when I talk about it, I don't say to people, well, how much money do you want to make per month? How much money do you want to pay? No, I say, well, what's your purpose? Okay, so we know you're going to bring in the money. What's your highest purpose? What do you really, really want to do? And most people will talk to you about what a difference they want to make in people's lives. So whether it be donating money to sponsor musicians, whether it's going to be building houses for children for schooling over in Fiji, whether it's going to be donating money to like a charity for children trafficking or prostitution for women over in Cambodia. A friend of mine's doing that. So purpose is going to be the number one thing that is going to drive people to want to be able to do the Kangen business. And you have to know their purpose. What do they really want to do with the money? Because I'm telling you, that there is going to drive someone more than you saying, oh, you're going to make $20,000 a month. Well, what does that mean? Right? Money will give you opportunities to live your purpose. Your purpose might be that maybe you just want to take care of your family and you want to take them on holidays. Maybe you don't want to be working for someone else. Maybe you want to start another business. Maybe you want to do more with Kangen and travel the world and go on stages and educate people. You know, maybe you want to give away a few Kangens. I don't know, like whatever purpose, you got to work out what your purpose is and why in the heck are you doing it? Because I tell you what, purpose is way higher motivation and inspiration than any money on the planet. The motivation is not money. It's what money can do for you. So you need to care. So when you're talking about people, when you're talking about the business, okay, well, yeah, you know, there's a business involved in this. And, you know, do you know that when you buy a machine, you get an ID? It's a free ID. And you can have all the business. You even get like a free website, and I can help you set that up. It's really easy. So, you know, we have a Facebook page where, you know, we train people, we nurture people. We have these mastermind classes. You know, tell me what's your purpose for doing it? Like, what's your purpose for taking on the business? And I can guarantee you it's not going to be money is really. They'll go, no, I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to do this charity. I want to be able to do whatever. I want to help communities. I want to help the Aborigine communities, whatever it might be. But it's the purpose you need to say, look, you know, there is a business, but what do you want to do? What's your purpose for doing it? Where do you want to be in your life? And that there is going to drive people like you have no idea. And that's how it is. So care so much about that part. So when you're talking about the business, the care part needs to come in, work out exactly what they want to do. And that really concludes my sales training. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording now and get back to the mastermind class. For anyone that's on YouTube that's listening to this, I've got links down the bottom. So you can email me, you can click on the link. I've also got my websites down the bottom as well. So you can also sign up for my email. And I send out emails once a week, and that's going to give you a little bit more information. So thank you for stopping by. Okay.